Welcome to the grotto. Welcome to the grotto. Welcome to the grotto.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Grotto in the Tar Pit. I'm glad you guys are here. Unfortunately, I don't have a guest for you guys today. The guest I did have, unfortunately, had to cancel. But anyways, there was a couple things I had in mind that I would probably like to talk about on this channel. Um, if you guys were a kid here, growing up here in America, maybe other places as well, or for sure other places as well, did you ever, have that traumatic experience of having to find out that there was no Santa? Finally you figure out that it's been your parents all along putting presents under the tree, and they've just been flat out lying to you for years. Well, I wasn't that old when I found out that Santa wasn't real, but and really it wasn't that much of a traumatic experience, but I guess why? Why would be the question. Why is all this done? Where are these traditions coming from? Why is everybody pretty much indoctrinated and programmed to tell all their children lies and make up this fairy tale? Um, which is also why a lot of people don't believe in God, because they hear all these stories that their parents have been telling them of Santa and the Easter Bunny and all this other stuff, and they just seem to put God in that same category. That since it was raised with all these myths and magical creatures and things like this, big guy in the sky with magical powers is probably just another lie that they've been fed. um, I'd like to go and cover a couple things with you guys of where did these religious, not really religious, but all these holidays, where did they come from, and what should we really be celebrating? I'd like to take it back to basically the first ruler of the world, the first king of the world, which was Nimrod. And if you read your Bible, you will find out about Nimrod. He was a contemporary with Abraham. And the thing was that he had a wife, and her name was Samramses, also known as Ishtar and Ashra. Her name has changed. If you and they had a son named Tammuz. I'll get into the details in a minute. But if you really think about it, with the Tower of Babel, that's when God broke up the people and sent them there. Well, he didn't send them there, or actually, that is what he wanted. The whole purpose of what God said, he said populate the whole planet, you know, and that they didn't want to do that. They wanted to make one central hub and populate it like that. And there's some controversy if you read some of that extra biblical scripture or extra biblical books like the Book of Enoch, the Book of Asher, and the Book of Jubilees. You'll find out that they were actually trying to make this Tower of Babel reach into heaven. Some believe that they wanted to kill God and put their own gods up there to worship or make them rulers, and others wanted them to be the rulers or be God themselves. Uh, Apart from that, so God comes down, he confounds the languages, he and the people scatter. Well, up until this point, they've been worshiping Nimrod as a god, as a human uh, god hybrid, you could say. It even says in the Bible that he began to be a mighty man. So something happened to him where he began to change. He began to be a Nephilim, or maybe he already had some kind of a Nephilim DNA in him, and it was just enhanced. So anyways, if he set up this religion and basically they're worshiping him as a god, something that we see also in Egypt and in other cultures where they worship the king as a god. Well, his religion all of a sudden breaks off. That doesn't mean people stopped worshiping him and worshiping the religion they had set up. It just changed the names because now people's understanding of the names of the people that are involved in this religion have changed. So if you go in the Middle East, you have Nimrod, you have some Ramses, and you have Tammuz. If you go to Egypt, you have Osiris, Isis, and Horus. Everywhere you go in these, even in the Aztec religion, there is a trinity of gods that they worship. So it's the same religion. It's just been spread out, and with the Tower of Babel falling and the languages being confounded, the names of these people and these individuals have been changed. So it's if you go throughout the world, these secret religions, these ancient religions are exactly the same. They're the same thing. They've just been the names have been changed. My point in being is, so anyways, Nimrod dies, and he didn't. Sam Ramses apparently got pregnant after he was dead. Who knows? I'm not gonna say. I would question it myself if he's been dead for a while and all of a sudden she gets pregnant. And she said that it was her husband Nimrod had become the sun, and the god over the sun, and the sun rays had impregnated her, and now she had Tammuz. Well, Tammuz, and you'll also read about this in the Bible. There's a story where they were weeping for Tammuz. Now, if you're part of the Catholic religion, um, you'll recognize this. Now, basically, what it is Lent. So uh, Tammuz lived to be 40 years old. Now, once he died in a boar hunting accident. He was gored to death by a wild boar. So as part of their religion, what they started to do is once a year they started to deny themselves of a pleasure here on earth to give him joy in the afterlife, and they did it for one day for each day he was alive. Well, he was 40 years old. So if you put that together, that's 40 days that they would weep for Tammuz, and that became Lent. Um, and then to top it off, if you think about it, what happens after Lent? You got Easter Sunday. Okay, Easter Sunday. What do you eat? What do most people eat after Easter Sunday? A ham. So they're eating the wild boar that killed Tammuz. So it's all a nod, and it's all paying privilege to Tammuz. Um, so back into it. Ishtar, also known as Sam Ramses. Now, basically, what happened is she died. Well, supposedly she died, or the way their mythology is that she died, but she got reincarnated. That she became the queen of heaven, and it also this is something that always caught me when I first started learning about this is that they call Mary the queen of heaven, la reina de los cielos in the Catholic religion. So mm, something's off there. Something sounds off. But anyways, supposedly she was so loved by the gods that they reincarnated her, and she became the bare-breasted god of fertility named Easter or Ishtar. So basically, what she did is she turned a chicken into an egg-laying rabbit to show her divinity, because she fell at the Euphrates in a big egg and was reborn and all this stuff. So let me tell you a little bit about this. Um, so we know that Easter, Easter Sunday is supposedly to celebrate the resurrection of God, or of Jesus. Well, where all that really actually comes from is during Constantine's time. If you heard of Constantine, he was an emperor of the Roman Empire. And what he wanted to do is he wanted a united Rome, or a united Roman Empire. He felt that if he could get them all speaking one language and having one religion, they would be much more unified. And the main thing would be that they have the same religion, that they'd be able to unify on that. And so what he did is he took a small sect of Judaism, you know, which was at the time Christianity. You got these people that are being hailed as like, wow, they have no fear. They're being thrown into the animals or thrown to the lions and killed and hanged, and they do not give up their faith. So people are seeing this, and the strength behind that is incredible. So he decides to take, okay, well, I'm gonna make Christianity the national religion, since it's seen as such a great thing. These people are fearless, and they're so devoted. But the thing is that he never actually became Christian himself. He actually worshipped Mithras, which is actually a derivative of Tammuz. It was actually he was, worshiping Tammuz, and it's been known that he had a cross too. And but anyways, so what he wanted to do is unify them with this little cult of Jews, as his perspective was, but he wanted to remove everything Jewish from it. So everything that the Jews were seen as doing, because the Jews were not liked by Rome. So he took this religion and took out all the feasts of the Lord, everything that they celebrated, he took that out. He said, no, we're not going to do that. We don't want to give a nod to Judaism at all. And what he actually did is he incorporated the celebrations that they already had and what they did yearly into Christianity. He just overlaid them and seen, okay, this kind of fits there. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna fit that there. Just like the whole thing about Good Friday, how they only eat fish. Well, that was actually a nod to the god Dagon, the fish god, and they would eat fish on Friday to, give him kudos. Um, so now you got this new religion, you know. So his mother actually did a lot of this, and instead of Passover, they started celebrating Easter and stuff like that. Now, as far as Christmas, now again, like I said, a lot of us were brought up, you know, it was a great time. We're celebrating Jesus' birthday. Jesus' birthday was probably not on December 25th. You know whose birthday was on December 25th? Mithras. Also the god Jupiter, Hercules. You got all these other gods that are actually born or supposedly born on December 25th, and that's what they are worshiping. So they just overlaid his birthday to be that day. Um, yeah, so that's one of the things that I wanted to tell you guys about. Uh, Now, there's much more about Christmas that a lot of people don't know. Um, it's Santa is actually, if you mix up the letters, it spells Satan. Also, to a lot of people, he's known as Saint Nick. And what a lot of people don't know is that Saint Nick was actually a euphemism which was ascribed to the devil. Uh, Early depictions of Saint Nick actually have him holding not reindeer, but a goat. Yeah, and another nod to Nimrod and stuff like that is, if you read, uh, in the extra biblical writings, you'll find out that Esau and probably Shem killed Nimrod. They chopped him up into 14 pieces and sent him to different parts of the world to show that he was already dead. Also, if you connect it, that's probably why he sold his birthright for so cheap. He just killed the king of the world. He was exhausted and he was ready to, what's my birthright to me? I just killed the king of the world. Give me those beans, I'll sell my birthright for those lentils. But anyways, at the time, Sam Ramses, being evil, they're all evil, she got with a magician. And if you really think about it, this is sorcery, and we see there's a lot of truth behind this. Well, what we're taught today, or what we're brought up today, as to think that, oh no, that couldn't be, it's just mythology. It probably has some truth to it. So basically, what they did is, her and this sorcerer, they went and gathered up all these pieces, right? All these 14 pieces that were sent across the world and tried to bring him back together and bring him back to life. Well, unfortunately, one of the pieces, there was a 15th piece, if you know what I mean, his phallus, and that was fed to either crocodiles or fish. So they couldn't find the phallus. And what they did is they formed a gold phallus. So I don't want to be too vulgar or too descriptive, but the Christmas tree is supposed to be a representation of his phallus, which is why they always have silver and gold balls on it. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty sickening if you really think about it. So, what is it that we should be following, or what is it that we should be doing? Well, if you read it in the Bible, they have the feasts of the Lord. This is something you should actually look into. Now, uh, and there's some parts of the world where they actually do follow it, like in Spanish cultures. This is one good thing. They practice Pascua, which is Passover. It's not Easter, you know. So what do you do there? And unfortunately, these holidays, we can't really celebrate them to the fulfillment. We just can't. And the reason we can't is because there's no temple. A lot of these feasts were connected to the temple. If you really look at them, they're shadow pictures to what the Messiah is going to do, or what he does. Basically, Passover is where they slaughtered a lamb, right? And he already did that. He fulfilled that. He was the lamb without a blemish that was sacrificed for our sins, and we're washed in his blood. Just like in Exodus, one thing that you have to take into consideration is that a lot of these prophecies and a lot of things that are in the Bible are not just meant for today. They're not just meant for the past or the future. They're usually meant for all three. They usually have a triple fold fulfillment. um, so if you look back, what happened in Exodus, the original Passover? They slaughtered a lamb. They got some leaves and they dipped it in the blood and put it on the doorpost of their house, and that's what kept them safe. That's what made the demon or Apollo or Apollyon again. These names, it's crazy. Or it's Abaddon. Um, Basically, that's what that he passed over, and if there was blood on the door, he didn't kill the firstborn. So it's by the blood that we're washed. So Jesus fulfilled this as well. There's also the Feast of Unleavened Bread. This was when he was already in the tomb, and he rose. uh, if you go to, uh, they have another feast called Pentecost, or actually Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks. Actually, let me go back just a little bit, and it goes a little bit with it's to talk about the times. Now, when okay, so what they would do is, in order to start a new year, or in order to have a Passover, what they needed to do is they needed to have barley. They needed to be able to make these loaves of bread. Now, the sometimes the barley would not be mature enough, so they couldn't do it. So what they would do is, sometimes if it wasn't mature enough, they would add an extra month. The way they figured this out is they would go out into the barley fields. I think it was like 2 weeks before the new moon was supposed to come out, so probably under a full moon. They would cut the barley and they would roast it. And after roasting it, if they were able to get a grain, then the barley was aviv. That means they're able to get the grain. That means by the time the harvest comes 2 weeks from now, they will be fully mature and they'll be able to make the loaves of barley, so they can have it for the festivals. If they roast it and there's no seed, that means, hey, we're not going to be able to make the loaves, so they add an extra month. That's where you get Adar Bet. Um, so, anyways, and then you have the calling of the new moon. So, all right, so we go back to Passover. You got unleavened bread. You have Shavuot. So basically, These are all harvest festivals. They're times of abundance of when you're bringing in all the harvest from the land. So after they count, after basically after Passover, you count 49 days. So that on the 50th day is Shavuot, and that's basically when the harvest is brought in, and there's another feast. Now those are the spring feasts. Those are what we celebrate in the beginning of the year. Now all these feasts had a parallel that was already fulfilled by Jesus' first coming. In later in the year, which is about the time we're in right now, we have three other feasts, which is Yom Teruah, the blowing of the trumpets. You have Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, and then you have Tabernacles or Shavuot, and that's actually going to start tomorrow for you guys that aren't in the know. But let's go back to Yom Teruah. That's actually very very specific or very intriguing, I would say. Um, a lot of people were actually thinking that there was going to be a rapture this Yom Teruah, and they actually have some probably there's probably something to that if you check it. Um, it's blowing trumpets and it's ushering something in. So even though like I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but I don't personally think there's a pre-tribulation rapture. I could be wrong. I don't think that's a salvation issue. So um so there are but it's okay. I mean, if you are, that's fine. um but anyways, I think that is to usher in the second coming of Messiah, that when there is a day of trumpets, Jesus will come back. Um, After that, you have Yom Kippur. That's a day of atonement. And basically, in ancient times, what was done is they would get a scapegoat, and this goes back to there's actually an image of it back when Jesus was crucified, where they were brought up to Pontius Pilate, and he gave the people basically a choice. Do you want me to release Jesus Barabbas, or do you want me to crucify Jesus of Nazareth? And they said, release Barabbas. So they released Barabbas. Now, if you go to Yom Kippur, what they would do is they would sacrifice. They would get two twin goats, and basically one would be would be sacrificed, and the other one, the high priest would put their hands on them and transfer all the sins of Israel onto that goat and let it free and send it off. So, and then now we come to Sukkot, which is what's going to start tomorrow, and basically that's a week long feast of you build a sukkah. So everybody was commanded or asked, yeah, basically commanded in the scripture to, from wherever they were, they needed to go to Jerusalem and temporarily live there in a sukkah. It's kind of like a tent. It's kind of like you put it up real quick. It's temporary shelter that you live in for a week. I actually made one a few years ago where I dug some posts in and put some chicken wire on it and put some palm fronds on it and lived in it for a few days. Again, this is not something we can totally do because we can't go to. Well, not everybody can just go to Jerusalem and celebrate this. Uh, but I tried. I tried to give it a little a little reverence. Even though I'm not able to go all the way over there. So that's something you guys should look into. See what God leads you to. I think now I've been more in tune with the Messianic movement, and I've been trying to see what they were doing. I'm trying to return to the Hebrew roots of the faith, and that's really what I want to do as I learn more and more about the Bible and about the way that what you're really supposed to do, not the traditions of men, not what we've been brought up with and told is Christianity, but what it really says in the Bible. like Christmas, for example. We've been told that supposedly it's Jesus' birthday and it's what we should be celebrating, but it's not. It's actually a pagan holiday for Saturnalia, and it's got all these other religions and other practices that were thrown in there. One of the things that God says is, "Do not do these other things and try to worship me the way that you worship these other gods, and don't do that and say it's for me. That's an abomination." Um, like one of the things with Easter. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but it comes from the worship of Ishtar, what Sam Ramses, which I mentioned earlier. What they would do is, um, now I don't want to be too graphic here, but they would get these priests of Ishtar, and they would get these virgins, and there's this big stone platform out there in the Middle East. I forget where exactly it is, but these priests of Ishtar would impregnate these virgins on this big stone, and then a year later, when because remember, uh, she turned a chicken into an egg-laying rabbit to show her divinity. So that's why, and she was a fertility goddess. So this is why you see all these eggs, and it's got so much to do with fertility. Well, anyways, that then a year later, the next Easter, what they would do is they get these 3-month-old babies, sacrifice them on that stone, collect their blood, and dip eggs in the blood. That's why to this day, the most common color of an Easter egg is red. A lot of people don't know that. So these are all giving props or giving an illusion or a nod off to pagan worship, and that's not what God wants from us. So I try to see what is it that God really wants from us. Well, what is not traditions of men? So one of the first things that I started to do is I started to celebrate the Sabbath. I've been celebrating the Sabbath for quite a few years now, and this was before I even went to any kind of messianic synagogue or anything like that. I just I felt I heard this one story about um, and it was by some Seventh Day Adventists, and they told an incredible story. I'm not gonna get into it because it is a very long story, but there's something to it. There's something about following what God says and worship me on this day, and you're supposed to worship Him on that day. And I think God gave me some insight into it, or let me know that I was doing the right thing. Because when I first started celebrating it, I went maybe 2.5 years, almost three, without getting sick at all. I didn't get sick at all, not a sniffle, not a cough, nothing for about almost 3 years. And then where I'm from, they have this thing called Coachella Fest. It's a big festival. And at the time, this girl that I was dating used to love to make smoothies. And as a joke, I was going through the internet and I seen this thing or this ad saying, "Do you want to come to the Coachella Fest festival and make some money making smoothies?" So as a joke, I said, "Look, I'm gonna apply and try to work making smoothies." So I applied. They ended up calling me. They gave me the job. It was only for 3 weeks, but I realized, man, it's on a Saturday. Most of my work was gonna be on Saturday because I would get there Friday afternoon. I'd be working all of Saturday and some of Sunday, and I, it was hard for me to do to say, I guess I'll do it, but I did it. I said, okay, well, that's it. I'm probably gonna make some good money. I get to see the concert for free. I'm gonna do it. So I did it. Well, I'm not sure if you guys have ever gone to this concert, but they got this thing called the Coachella cough. Most of the grounds there are covered in crabgrass, and me, I'm allergic to crabgrass, so that made it that much worse. And apparently, a lot of people. That's why you'll see a lot of people there with masks. Is they get this cough from being there. Well, man, after it was all done, it was torture for me. I could barely breathe. I was coughing and coughing. I completely lost my voice for about a week. And I thought, whoa, I think God's trying to tell me something, you know. Almost 3 years, without getting sick, no sniffle, no nothing, and I've been being faithful and not working on Saturdays. And when I, finally work on a Saturday, this happens. No, I went right back to to celebrating the Sabbath, and do my best not to work. I do my best to plan ahead. Uh, that way, I don't have to do laundry or anything that could be considered work on that day. Now, that doesn't mean don't help your friend move something out of the way. You know, I think Jesus said a couple stories where, like, if your goat fell in a hole on the Sabbath, are you going to pull it out and help it, or are you just going to let it die? I think we all know the right answer to that is, help the goat out and make sure it doesn't die. So another thing, people like to say, "Oh well, what would you consider work?" Uh, okay, if you are a gardener, if you are a landscaper, and all you do all day is put in flowers, cut grass, and all kinds of stuff, right? All that stuff. Uh, And on Saturday, you go do that. That's work. But let's say you're that's not you. All you do is data input all day long. Excuse me. That's your job. And then on Saturday, you want to clear your mind, and what relaxes you is working on your garden. Then that's really, is that work? I don't think so. I don't think that'd be work. You're doing something fun for you. That's a pastime for you, you know? And I think there's a distinction there. Now, moving on, there's a couple stories I wanted to tell. Um, so last year, around, I'm gonna say it was about March, around March, I came out here to North Carolina. And mind you, I'm not gonna get into all the details, but I came out here with nothing. I was homeless. I was on the street. Not totally broke or anything like that, but I did have to spend about 2 nights out in the streets. Um, I quickly found out where the shelters are, and what I gotta do to survive. I even tried to find. I was struggling to find work. Something was I think it was something spiritual, um, because I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find anything at all, and I was completely sober at the time, and I did end up getting into a program where they'd let me go in and then go out to work. Well, I found a job, and I told myself I wasn't gonna work in sales. I told myself I'm not gonna be doing that. Um, that's not my thing. Da da da. But when I went and actually, I started talking to them. Uh, it kind of sounded pretty good. The numbers were pretty good, but I think they did me dirty, to tell you the truth. I don't. I think that it was just a revolving wheel, and they were just using people. Oh, we're gonna get them to make us these little contacts or whatever, and they end up leaving anyway, so we don't end up paying them any money. Which is basically what it is. But anyways, um, I had been thinking, man, I don't pray enough. I don't think I pray before I go to work, and I think that's something that I need to do. I need to start praying. So I prayed that day. Everything was good. And let me tell you what I was doing. I was doing door to door sales. I was selling solar panels, or selling solar panel services. They would come install them and all that. But anyways, the next day I forgot. I forgot to pray, and I went with another coworker, and I chose a neighborhood, and I said, "Let's go here." Looked like a really nice neighborhood. We go, right, and mind you, I forgot to pray, and it's in my it's not in my mind. I hadn't thought of it, but we're about maybe a half hour into it, and I knock on this door, and there's all kinds of screaming going on. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And even my coworker's like, what's going on in there? Sounds like there's a little girl screaming. So I'm knocking on the door, and they're not coming. And I continue to knock on the door, and I hear praying, and they're praying and praying and praying, and it sounds like there's 5 or 6 people in the house. And I'm like, what? So I continue knocking because I'm not sure if there's something bad going on in the house. I'm not sure if someone's being hurt. Um, but I hear this praying, and then I'm all, oh my God, I think they're doing a deliverance in there. And something just tells me I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna get prayed for. You know, whatever it is, I'm gonna get prayed for. So I keep knocking, and then finally somebody opens the door. Hey, how's it going? And she goes, what do you want? And normally I'd give the spiel about it. Hey, my name is da 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 da. Do you want this and this and this? The whole sales pitch. But I said no. Instead of saying all that, I was like, I heard you praying, and I want you to pray for me. And she goes, okay, come in. Just like that. Boom, close the door behind me. I don't know what happened to my coworker during that time. She was outside. So she starts praying for me, right? She's all, what would you like me to pray for? I said, pray for my health, my job, my situation. And she does. She goes through, and I look around the house, and I'm like, where is everybody? I distinctly heard men. I heard a little girl. I heard other women. What's going on here? And it's only her and some other girl on the couch. So give me one second. So I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. The TV's not on, right? I was thinking maybe it was a TV, but TV was off. So after she's done praying for me, now mind you, I had just stopped working at a Christian theme park, and I told her, hey, she said she was the pastor's or the pastor's wife or whatever. And I said, you know what? If you guys ever want to do a retreat, I know of a place you guys can go, and it'll be for free. They'll provide you with meals and everything. And she goes, oh, for reals? I'm like, yeah. She goes, oh, well, come give me the address, give me the number, and and uh, and I'll write it down, and then if we get a chance to go, we'll go. I'd really appreciate that. So she's walking, and I see the couch, and there's the lady on the couch. I get closer. Now I can see that she had been crying or something. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I turn my back to her. We go into the kitchen. I turn my back to the couch, and the lady, and then I hear a man's voice. Hi, what are you doing? Or something like that. I'm like, and I look around, nothing. There's nobody else in there. And then when I finally turn around, and I lock eyes with the girl that's on the couch, she says, "Now do you see what's going on in here?" And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I already knew. You know, there's something to the tune of deliverance or something going on here. I didn't tell her that, but I was thinking in my head, and I just thanked the lady, right? I thanked her, and I left, and I'm like, man, that was weird. That was really, really weird. So we keep walking, me and my coworker, and we turn a corner, and there's a black cat, right? This black cat coming towards us, and something told me, I don't know why, but maybe I'm tripping, maybe I'm looking too deep into this, but something told me, hey, this cat is gonna try to cross your path. You know how they say don't let a black cat cross your path, it's bad luck or something like that. So I see this cat, and my coworker's playing with it. I'm like, you know what? Keep that cat away from me, yeah. And she's just it keeps following her, and it's following us, and it's like I went to knock on this house and ask them if they water the solar, and she goes, "Oh no 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 no! I just came out here because I thought you guys were animal control, and I don't want you guys taking my cat." And I'm like, "Oh, that's your cat right there." He goes, "Yeah, it doesn't have a collar." Uh, oh, okay, all right. Well, all right then. I'll leave. So we leave, and the cat's still following us. And we come up to another house, and she goes, "Go ahead and take it." Uh, 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 so I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I walk right, and as I'm talking to the guy comes out, start talking to him. The cat comes out of nowhere, right? And mind you, I'm already at the door. The cat comes out of nowhere and walks right in front of me and walks the other way. Went all the way through the grass just to come and cross my path. Just get in between, and then disappeared. I asked my coworker, "What happened to the cat?" He goes, "I don't know. Disappeared." Like, oh my god, that is weird. So I'm tripping. There's something to this neighborhood. I could sense there's some kind of a deep spiritual battle going on there. There's forces. You just know, you can sense it when there's a, maybe like a 50-50 force of both good and evil there. There's just as much good as there is evil, and there's a battle going on. So I keep going, and I knock on another house. Now, mind you, this is like around another curve, and they open the door, and this person in a big pink shirt, wearing a collar, and said, "Hey." It was the same exact voice I heard the lady on the couch speaking with. I'm like, whoa. And wearing the collar, wow. I'm not sure if I'm just tripping, but the fact that black cat, that the owner of the black cat said my cat doesn't have a collar, and then I see this person speaking in the same exact voice as a lady was speaking with, and now is wearing a collar. It's supernatural. There was something going on there. Mind you, I prayed. I tried to pray the next morning that I wouldn't run into stuff like that. Not that I run from stuff like that, but it, it's a good thing to pray. It reminded me that maybe I should take a little more time to pray in the morning. Another story that I wanted to talk to you guys about is the Catholic Church. And I'm not blaming the people. I'm not blaming the people that actually are Catholic. There are some people that actually love the Lord, and that's what they're about. They don't fall into the dogma. They don't deal with the idol worship or nothing like that. But because so much of the known world was conquered by Spain and other Catholic countries that imposed Catholicism on there, or on the native people, that what they started to do is they started to worship their own gods as the saints of Catholicism, right? So instead of worshiping Ometeo, they would make a statue of the Virgin Mary and say that's, oh, we're worshiping the Virgin Mary, but in all actuality, they're lighting candles and worshiping Ometeo. And this did not just happen in Mexico; it happened in Cuba, and happened in many other places. So there's a lot of witchcraft. There's a lot of demonic worship that is secretly, intertwined in Catholicism, and a lot of people don't know it. Santeria is something that's I've talked about before, and that a lot of people know about, or that is being exposed a lot. You see so many little, what they call is boticas, and basically what they are, they're Catholic witchcraft stores. If you look, they have candles to saints and all this stuff. Well, Basically, what demons do is they are spirits. They go throughout the world finding something to inhabit. They can't be on their own. They're not an actual physical entity. They're in another dimension. So they need something to hold on to and something to hold to so they can make an effect into this world. So what happened with the demoniac? He was possessed by a bunch of demons, and what they tell Jesus, you know, don't judge us, send us into the pigs, and he allowed it. So we see that they can possess humans, they can possess animals, they can also possess items. If you've ever heard, oh, that item is cursed, or you see an idol that people worship, that's because there's a demon connected to that that's been ingrained or tied into it. One of the things that you see is if you ever look into it, there's a statue of a Catholic saint called San Simon. And what's been known is that if you give it a shot of tequila and give it a cigar and then go to sleep, when you wake up the next morning, the tequila will be drank and the cigar will be smoked, or the cigarette will be smoked. There's a demon doing that. And people, oh, wow, there must be something to this. It's something fantastic. I can make requests to this statue and it'll grant them to me. Well, to some point, yeah, but you're dealing with demonic spirits. You're not dealing with, something good. No, it's not benevolent, it's malevolent. So, anyways, I'm saying that to say this. Uh, like I said, many of the people in the Catholic Church, they don't know this, but they've picked up these traditions. Just like with all the holidays I was talking about, Christmas and Easter, they're traditions they've been taught, and they don't know what they're about. No, they're doing this out of ignorance. So I'm not sure if you understand anything about Mexican culture or Cuban culture. They have this thing called La Limpia, and what it is they have a person that is been trained in these traditions to do these rituals on you, and it's supposed to be cleansing you. It's supposed to help you against dark magic. But one thing you got to understand is this witchcraft that they're doing, which is what it is, it's witchcraft. Is not gonna fight other witchcraft. It's just gonna put witchcraft on you, right? And that's what people don't understand, and they're doing this out of ignorance. Some are doing it out of ignorance. Some people know. If you can see these people, there's some people that are truly evil, and they do this knowing what it is. There's some witch doctors like that you go to them, and let's say that you have a pain in your arm or your shoulder, they'll cure it, but all of a sudden you got a knee pain. So what they're actually doing is they're telling that demon or whatever is on you to move from that spot to another spot so they can get paid, right? So now they've told that demon that is messing with your shoulder or your back or something, they've moved it somewhere else. You pay them, and now you're gonna go back, pay them some more money for them to remove that demon from your knee. And yes, it happens. So, anyways, when I was younger, and I think this was done out of ignorance. My mom took me and my sister to get a limpia, and it was done by someone we knew. Again, saying, this is probably all done out of ignorance, not knowing what it is. So one of the things uh, that they can do, okay, basically what they did is they took like a palm frond and you know moved it around, and then they got an egg, and they with that egg, the lady was praying all over my body and moving the egg everywhere, and you know it's supposed to be absorbing all this negative energy into the egg, and then they crack it into a glass of water, and she looks at the egg, and they're supposed to see what witchcraft has been done on you or what's been put on you. And she looked at it and she goes, "Oh, it's the evil eye. Somebody put the evil eye on him." to this day, I'm not totally sure what the evil eye is. What's it supposed to be? Does that mean somebody's watching you? Somebody can see what you see? Um, are demons watching you? I have, I'm kind of ignorant to it, but there. I feel that even though this was done as a cleansing, what what was done out of ignorance was actually put whatever spirit it's supposed to fight actually on you, whether they know it or not. And actually, after that happened, after the whole cleansing from when I was a child, I started having dreams of losing my vision in an eye or losing an eye, and which is crazy, isn't it? The evil eye, and isn't it what she was supposed to take out? And I'm no longer supposed to be dealing with evil eye, but I now I'm having these dreams of losing an eye or losing my vision in an eye. Um, well, mind you, uh, I've in this eye I've actually started losing some of my vision. Unfortunately, I got in a fight, and I was already kind of seeing a black spot and stuff like that. So I think that there was some demon, attacking my eyesight. Um, Now I just started working at a construction site, and I got these safety glasses, right? Put them on tight, and what I had to do was cut the grass, or use a weed eater and cut down all the grass throughout the whole place. And mind you, I had these safety glasses really tight to my face, and I hit a rock, boom, out of that tiny little crack, a rock hit my eye, hit my other eye, and it hurt. I was looking in the mirror. I was looking, and it looked like squishy. My whole eye looked squishy. I'm like, what's going on here, oh, man? Maybe I should go to the doctor or something like that. I told the foreman, and we took pictures of it. Sent the pictures to the doctor, and he said you'll be all right. It's just irritated, and be it what it be. So I figured, I'm not gonna make too much of this. I'm just happy that I got a job and stuff like that. It is what it is, you know. And so fast forward to about a week. I'm cutting the grass again, you know, and this time I'm more covered up. I got goggles. I got a face mask. Um, so I'm doing that. Yeah, I got goggles. I got a face mask, and this is what I come across. So I see that. Oh, my bad. I see this. I see this on the floor, and I remember hearing this story of a guy finding a talisman. You know, that fell out of nowhere, and he started wearing it, and there was evil connected to that. And somehow this story just played in my mind, and I seen this talisman on the floor, right at the spot where I got hit, like 5, 10 feet from where I got hit in the eye. And something, look at those eyeballs. And somehow I recognize a symbol. I don't know where from, but I know I recognize that symbol somewhere, and it had something to do with the evil eye. I'm like, wow, this is weird. This is weird, right? There's got to be something going on here. So I'm telling my friend about it. Uh, I'm writing and texting and saying all this weird stuff that's happening. There's got to be some kind of connection to it. So I start doing my research. I go online, and I start looking it up, and I found this. It's actually the symbol of Hamsa. It's ancient. ancient symbol. Um, Basically, what it deals with is protection from the evil eye, right? Wow. To me, it's just like, what protection was that? You know, supposedly, when I was little, I got this cleaning that's supposed to protect me from the evil eye. But right after, I start getting these dreams of losing my vision or losing an eye or something like that. Then I get hit right in the eye, and the next week I find this talisman covered with this symbol that's supposed to fight against the evil eye. I am tripping. I am tripping, right? Now, what makes it even crazier is I think I've talked about it. I've broken my hand in a video already, but I go to AA, right? I've have a I've had a problem dealing with drugs and alcohol and substances, but anyways, so I go to an AA meeting, and I decided, or I was set to secretary, which means you're actually the facilitator of the meeting. And one of the people come and ask me, "Hey, is there anything I can do?" And I said, "Yeah." And he has his hands on the desk, right? And I look, oh my God, watch. This is what he has. That's his hand. That's his tattoo. And somehow I don't know what told me, but I looked at it and I said, "Is that the Hamza?" And he said, "Yeah, it's protection against the evil eye." I was like, "Whoa, whoa!" That all this happened in one day. Well, actually, the first incident happened a week before, but all this other, finding the talisman and reading about this and all this other stuff happened in one day. They say that in ancient Hebrew there is no word for coincidence, and I don't think there is. There's no coincidences in this world. Things happen for a reason. Um, I've got quite a few crazy stories that I've dealt with. Um, I remember there's this chaplain Casebeer, Chaplain Casebeer, that I was talking to him, and he used to be uh, he used to be a chaplain inside the prison system, or inside the LA County jail system. And he was coming in at the bottom tier and was gonna go, and he goes up, upstairs, and then, but he said while he was walking in, and mind you, I think he said this was not a day he was scheduled to come in. He just decided to come in to, help, right? He walks in and he's at the bottom tier. They open up the door for him. And as he walks in, he hears one of the inmates at the top tier go, "Case beer, come up here and get me out of this person. I know you can. You know you can get me out of this person. Why don't you come out here and get me out of this person if you're such a godly man?" Now, there is no possible way that that guy could have known he was there. Probably didn't even know who he was, but there was a person from the top tier that couldn't see him that knew his name. And what he said is um, that he wasn't about to do that. The reason being is that that demon has probably been in that person for a while, and that person is somewhat acclimated to that demon. He could ask that demon to come out, right, and send it out of this person, and they jump to another person that really isn't used to it, and he might stab somebody or kill somebody, you know. And I was kind of tripping that he dealt with this, because he seemed like one of those regular pastors that goes to service on Sunday, does a service, or preaches a message here and there, but never really deals with anything in the spiritual realm. So to hear that from him was like, wow. Now, I had a similar incident. Uh, this is years later. I'm traveling from one city to another city on the regular city bus, and I get on, and I don't know what it was, but I was reading. I'm not gonna give credit, or I'm not gonna say the name, but I came across some information about this demon and its name. Um, and right, one of the things that is talked about is, especially in like ancient Hebrew exorcisms and even in Catholic exorcisms, one of the best ways to exorcise a demon from a person is to know their name. Once you know the demon's name, you can have some control over. You can tell it what to do, basically. As far as to leave, you have more control over that. Well, I get on this bus and I'm sitting all the way in the back. Guy walks in, and he comes in, sits maybe a few rows in front of me next to the exit door. These buses usually have a door on the exit or on the side to exit, and he has a screwdriver in his hand, and he looks dirty. He's shaking back and forth, and he starts stabbing the wall with this screwdriver, and other people are looking at him, and he tells me the same thing that inmate had told Caspear. He tells me, "You can get me out of this person. Why don't you do it? Just have me leave this person." And I said, "What's your name?" And he told me his name was the same name as that demon I had just been reading about. And that's what came to mind. Don't even try it, because that's probably exactly what'll happen. You tell that demon to leave, it's gonna jump on another person, and it's gonna do something bad. But what I did do, I said, "Away from me." That's what I did tell it to do. Leave my presence. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, in the name of Jesus Christ, get away from me. And I just keep repeating Jesus' name, Yeshua, Yeshua. And sure enough, on the next stop, or once I started saying Jesus' name, he got up. He started getting a little frantic, and stabbing the wall. But as soon as we got to another stop, he rushed out that door. So there's there's some things we got to deal with. It's not something we run to, something we rush to, but sometimes that is something we got to deal with. Um, I hope I didn't take up too much of your time. I hope I didn't bore you too much. But thank you for joining me for this episode of Grotto in the Tar Pit. We'll try to get an actual guest then next time. Thank you and have a great day.
Welcome to the grotto. Welcome to the grotto.